Wow, it was great to reconnect. I can't tell you the thrill I had thinking about working together again, considering at the beginning of the cloud, if we wouldn't have had folks like you, Salesforce would have never got off the ground. And so when you think of that ground swell, do you see any parallels in the age of AI? I mean, because being there at the beginning of the cloud, people didn't know what to do. They didn't know where to go. Their pressures were on from the competition. And do you see similarities today in where we are with AI?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's great to hear that you couldn't have done it without us, because we didn't feel like that as a small player, right? But I think that that's, working for a vendor, like Pega, like as we work with these small companies, like the potential to scale is massive, and the opportunity for them to create value quickly with a platform is crazy. But yeah, we've seen a lot in the SaaS business over the last 25 years. I think there's tons of parallels.
When you think about what we had the opportunity in the cloud was you didn't need hardware, you didn't need software. And so what you really got to bring was this nimbleness and this new view that the other partners in that ecosystem didn't have. And it feels to me that if you were to start it over today, you'd go, here's my 90-day plan and I'm going to have a product out. Like, this is unheard of, the pace.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so having a no-code platform, does that help with the pace? Because when I think through it, I have to think about what I want to do, find the engineers, hire the engineers, train the engineers, then I've got to figure out, meet customers, spec the product, build the product. Like, this could take a year.
Oh, at least. Absolutely. And then you have to find product market fit. Right? So you have to iterate, you have to have a platform that you can move and change with customer requirements.
How's Launchpad fit that need?
Yeah, so I mean, we're, again, making it easy to start, kind of stand on the shoulders of giants, use a platform that's already built for the enterprise, but it's a modern architecture that was just built, leveraging all of our expertise the last 40 years. And so you've got kind of that best of both worlds. And it's really been built, in the age of AI and architected for AI and agentic AI.
Right. So this is really purpose-built, modern in nature, and essentially what you're doing is democratizing for everyone that can't afford the 500 engineers that have built, or probably $100 million of investment.
Absolutely, yeah.
So when I get to start there,
right,
I really am standing on the shoulder of a giant. As you think through that, who do you think will attract at the beginning?
I mean, for startups, it's a huge value proposition, right? And we saw that at the event this week. I mean, lots of these startups, they're just trying to get started. They don't want to raise $3 to $5 million to just do, all the foundational stuff, the boring stuff, like some of the guys have told us, right? Single sign-on and multi-tenancy and cloud ops, and so
jurisdiction.
Yeah,
we heard that. You're right.
Yeah. Right, like, so just start on your IP, on your unique value prop.
I'm going to guess 25% of the VC's money goes towards that first phase where you get no value.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Definitely. And then on an ongoing basis, it's the cloud ops. I mean, a lot of companies spend $3 to $5 million a year on cloud ops and trying to manage, because if you build
people or in
mostly people, processes, systems, clients. So, to run, from Salesforce days, to run and operate these things is not easy, right? No. So you build on AWS. I have one company we're working with. They have 26 services they've tied together. They have 5 engineers.
Wow.
Imagine the complexity.
Right. And well, imagine how smart those engineers are.
Right.
Right. Because normally that would be a team of 10 or 15 probably that's putting together that infrastructure and just maintaining pipelines and just maintaining, keeping lights on so that you can then operate. So essentially you've democratized it so that the same technology delivered to billion-dollar companies can be consumed by anybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we talked to some of those startups this week, and we talked to some that had an idea to get started, and that's the one that probably excited me most, which is today I'd have to go, and more importantly, find someone that understands an industry, help them then know you don't need to have the technical acumen, because 50% of the work's done, more. How much do you think we actually get to take? I guess it depends on the application.
Sure. I mean, we met with a couple solo entrepreneurs that are just really getting started. They've got a great idea, deep industry expertise, they know what they want to build, but again, they're not engineers. For them, they need to get to a place where they've got enough value to raise capital, so they have to get to an MVP. And so we can help them get to that MVP very fast with no technical expertise, leveraging our AI, Gen AI blueprint tool. But then, if they want to now build something that they're going to take to market and really go sell, they could probably have 1 to 3 resources that basically would allow them to build something that normally would have taken 12 or 18 months to build with a team of 5 to 7 engineers.
Wow. So maybe the way we should be looking at this is gestation period from idea to delivery and what can actually happen or not happen. And we can actually speed that time up, it sounds like 500%.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
like, I don't even know the percentage to put on because it's so significant.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the key thing, like, starting a business, it's all about how quick can you get a product in the hands of a customer and really validate that there's a need, understand more deeply like what problem you're solving, and then start to iterate and co-create with them, and then start to create those customer stories, go radiate to more customers. And I think that's one of the huge values, because so many of these guys, they have an idea, they get started, and they just stumble along for 6 to 12 months.
Stall.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, because they hit a wall, they don't know how to do it, they can't find the people. This is very interesting. Now we have Launchpad, it's a platform, it's going out to find these next group of innovative entrepreneurs. What are the class of applications we should look to start with?
So, we start off talking about B2B SaaS, but that's a massive category, right? So if you think of things that are operationally intensive, compliance, regulated industries, verticals like insurance, financial services, manufacturing, telco,
So those 5 industries alone are 50% of the GDP in America, as I did. So that's pretty significant size of opportunity.
Oh yeah, yeah, and each of them have thousands of target prospects that are significant organizations.
And the best part is those are all laggard industries, with the exception of maybe telco, some finserves, but for the most part, they're very ripe to take advantage of this agentic era.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about, people are just talking about AI. The way we talk about it is, at the end of the day, you're buying software to basically deliver an outcome.
Right.
Especially in the B2B space. And so it's all about how do you deliver more value with your application and your product. And so now with AI and agentic, all it's doing is it's going from tracking stuff and automating stuff to actually getting work done and orchestrating how that work gets done more efficiently. So like we heard today on the panel that you were on, your employees are happier.
Hey.
They have more leverage. They're able to get more work done, right? And they're able to hit their objectives faster with less resources, right? And so Launchpad's an ideal platform to build those types of solutions that are outcome driven, that actually help to deliver the work and get the work done in a predictable way.
Wow. So we could have a whole new class of entrepreneurs Launchpad unleashes.
No, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's probably what's most significant. We saw that with Force.com, but it was a class of app, but it was at least now all of a sudden a business person could do this, and this is way more advanced.
Yeah, it's very different, right? It's the old CRUD apps, right? You're just entering data and updating stuff. But now it's really about, that delivering value, delivering work, getting things done, being more efficient. And I think that we're right at the right time.
So if I hear you, then we could almost break this into 3 things. And the first is we had to store the data. Then the applications let us process the data. Now the machine's going to do the work that the data was intended to do.
Right.
That's a pretty powerful message.
Yeah. And a lot of the companies we met this week, they're like, everybody I think we tripped over was an AI first company, right? And what they don't realize yet is when you go AI first, they're very focused on the magic that the LLM is doing. Right.
Which is really not AI first.
Yeah, exactly. But the problem is that pretty quickly as you start to get into these industries in B2B, people want that, but they also want the predictability. And so they want the rules, they want the processes. You can't have a mortgage go through a process where you're going to have hallucinations and variances in the process, right?
Biases.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. So we have a way to kind of manage the best of both worlds. And so I think that as these folks start to build their AI first products, they're going to quickly find out that they need to have that workflow capability, the integration, the orchestration, the agent coordination. And that's really where I think the opportunity is for these companies.
Right. Why don't we switch and say what we heard this week?
Is this good stuff? Or
I think it's really good stuff.
Okay.
And this is meaty, substantive. These are clips that people are going to hear how to get.
Yeah, and we can also talk about we focus a lot on startups.
We're going there next.
Yeah.
Hence, we're going to SaaS, and then we're going to say what I thought was take us into SaaStr. We thought we'd meet a bunch of startups. What we really met was companies in purgatory.
Yeah.
And so that is a great segue. So we know that these are startups, and I think that that's a very important vein for what's going to come next. But there's a group of people that won't be here for what's next because they're not going to survive. I think the other Jason Lemkin said it best, which is so many software companies have been maimed.
Right.
Yeah. And that made
good visual.
It was a very good visual because it made me start thinking that they're going to hobble until they die. Because there's no outcome based for them unless they have AI.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's a bold statement, but if you really look at it, I mean, think about, like you and I were talking earlier this week, these companies that were founded in the vintage, older than 10 years ago, which were thousands of SaaS companies, they're just trying to keep up.
Right. And their competition's iterating every day now.
Yeah. And they can't get to the next funding round.
Because they don't have the feature set.
They've got revenue and clients they have to serve. They've got cloud ops issues. They've got cloud costs. They've got resource chart stuff, and they just need a way that's going to help them find the way to pivot and really transform their business into AI, but also keep their current business running.
This is awesome. So the first group we can go offer and attack are going to be 1,000 flowers a broom, bring your great idea. The second group we're going to attack is we're going to be lifeguards. We're here to help you, and we actually have a preserver that we can throw them. Walk me through how I'd get started. So we met a bunch of them. We're going to have some follow-ups. So you throw me this life preserver. I'm going to walk you through my app. You're going to be able to say, oh my God, we can AI-ize you.
Right. Yeah, I mean, AI is a big piece, but it's not the only thing.
Right. That's what I wanted. Because I now am a founder and I'm in a box and I'm in a corner.
Yeah. So usually the first question we asked was, what's your backlog? What are your clients asking for that you can't deliver, right? And that uncovers, some interesting conversations because, one that we talked to this week is like, look, I've got 12 deals
you can unlock revenue.
Yeah, that I can unlock revenue, right? Which is, that's a value right there. And so you prove it, then they get into Launchpad, they start using it, and they see that they can, drive value really quickly. And then the lights go on because now all of a sudden they're like, now I see how this fits into augmenting my existing product, allows me to accelerate, my product backlog, deliver more value, maybe even build new capabilities that gives me more radiation within my current customer base. Also increases my win rates because now I've got, newer capabilities. I've now built in this agentic stuff. So now I can really start to scale my business again and not have to go hire, another 5 or 10 engineers to go do that, which I can't afford to do.
Right, because you don't have the money.
Right.
Well, speaking of the money, so I come and I meet you and I figure out I could do this. You also have some money you can give me. You have a venture fund.
Sure.
So I love this technology. So not only are you going to help me, but you're going to fund me and give me some money to feed my kids as well?
Yeah. I mean, look, we're not going to hurl money at everybody, but I think the key thing is the Launchpad team is all about helping these companies see their way to success. Right. And so often I'm talking to founders and CEOs, and the conversation doesn't start about software and technology. It's really about where do they want to take their business? Where are their challenges? Right. And they're either trying to prepare for an exit in a couple of years, they're trying to get ready for a PE round, they're trying to get for another VC round, or even just get profitable and get beyond Rule of 40. And so once you understand that, it sets a frame that now you can start to look at, okay, where can we help on the product side and really help them be more effective on that journey. And if they start getting traction with Launchpad, then that opens up the door for us to start to look at, Pega Ventures for corporate investment to really help them, accelerate that traction that they're starting to get.
Well, you have a unique background to actually have this role because you're a fellow founder, so you've walked a mile in their shoes.
Yeah.
So when you sit down to talk to them, you actually have empathy.
Totally, and they appreciate that too, right? Because they're going through the gauntlet, right?
And they're alone.
Yeah, and we understand that, right? And so once you can connect with that, and they understand that you're there to help them succeed. With the technology resources, capital, introductions, connections, it's not just about technology anymore. It's all about, how do you help them get successful and how do you help them deliver greater impact for their clients.
Wow. All right, so we got a group of new people. I got an idea. We got a group of people that are maybe zombies.
Yep.
That want to come out of zombie land.
Or they don't know they're a zombie yet.
They know they're a zombie. We need that Men in Black thing. Forget everything you know, and all of a sudden we're going to teach you. Now we're going to go probably to the group that matters, in my opinion, most, which is if I don't cross this chasm, I'm died. And I'm going to say there's got to be thousands of companies sitting in both venture capital and private equity that got to be replatformed.
Yeah.
Like you're just not going to go from client, you're going to die.
Absolutely.
We've heard some of them because some of the ones we're meeting want to compete against them because they know they're not going to be nimble enough to move.
Right.
How do you think about helping black and white television get Technicolor? Because that's really what we're thinking about. Because if they could have been in SaaS, they'd be there by now, right?
Yeah.
Is it because it's so hard, so costly, too resource intense?
I think there's a couple things going on, right? So this week we heard it was all about AI. Right, and a lot of the startups are AI-first companies. Nobody was really talking about tech debt, and really, I think the stuff that's under the water where nobody was really talking about it. Nobody wants to admit it, but like you said, those companies, they've got issues with the stuff that they built. It's spaghetti code. They've built on it. They've tried to iterate. They've pivoted their companies. And now they've got
the engineers that wrote it have left.
Yeah, absolutely. And now they're beholden to engineers on their teams that maybe aren't the most forward-thinking folks. And so we're really looking at how do we come in, help add features quickly, but at the same time, help them come up with a strategy if they need it to start to re-platform over to something that's more modern, more scalable, that really gets them in a place where they can focus really again on their core IP and their go-to-market. So now they don't have to use all their resources for kind of just keeping up and trying to maintain this old technology. But now, I mean, as you know, the changes in go-to-market, I mean, it's hard to sell, it's hard to market because it's a noisy market, right? So what we say is you should be focusing your capital and your resources on your value prop and your go-to-market.
Right.
And we help you do that, with Launchpad, basically to really accelerate your product development and start with those kind of features and capabilities that we deliver.
This scratched a real itch that I heard this morning from a CPO, which is my backlog list is so long I don't know where to begin.
Yeah.
And that's because he doesn't have enough engineers, because salespeople are probably not calling on ICPs and they're hearing, I need.
Sure.
But how would you help someone in that scenario?
I mean, it's all about impact, right? So I typically go for, let's first understand their product, where their issues are. Again, where can we unlock deals? Where can we unlock radiation opportunities or market expansion opportunities with product improvements? And then, we'll look at those kind of high value ones and help them prioritize a use case to start with. We like to pick things that are quick wins that'll deliver value, get them familiar with Launchpad to understand the power of it. It proves the platform for them. And then they can just kind of scale from there and then start to build out from it. So we've got a couple companies we're working with right now that are, established companies. They've been around for 10, 12 years. They've got lots of enterprise clients, but they're, stalled a little bit. So they're, kind of on a journey to re-platform. And that re-platforming does a couple things. It helps them with really modernizing and adding a lot of this agentic stuff. It also allows them to start to open up new markets. So a lot of these older SaaS platforms were single tenant.
Yeah.
So they have lots of costs and they can't go down market. Platform, now all of a sudden it opens up an ability for them to go down market and get more creative with their go-to-market strategy with the expertise of what they've proven themselves with in these single tenant deployments.
Because I get inherent multi-tenancy?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Just included.
Wow, that's pretty incredible.
And data protection.
And single sign-on.
Yeah.
Wow. So I kind of feel like this is a Ron Popeil moment for those of you that know who Ron Popeil is.
I do not.
You do not. It slices, dices, it gets...
Oh, yes. I remember those days.
It seems like this...
A little bit, yeah.
But what gets better than that, because if I go after new folks that want to come out, people that want to survive, people that need to get out of... Well, we got the new people, we got the zombies, and we got... I don't even know the category for the last one.
So I find that there's the companies that are going it alone and trying to figure out, so they're kind of in that 30 to 50 million range.
Okay.
But then you've got now the PE firms that are coming in and they see this opportunity to come in and buy up a lot of these companies.
Right.
And then they end up with 20, 25 companies and products, all in disparate tech stacks with lots of tech debt, lots of issues, but they've got revenue. They now need to, in the next 2 to 4 years, get to the next value quickly. And so those
will
are
require a replatforming. Because
Absolutely.
otherwise you won't get that next value because you will be zombie land. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Now, the reason I say it's a Ron Popeil moment is it feels like it couldn't get any better, but it does because of your relationship with AWS.
Yes, absolutely.
How can that play into this? Because I'm a startup or I'm one of these categories. You're sexy and attractive for real. You're taking half of my business and not having me worry about it. So all of a sudden I get to, how does that, because as a solo entrepreneur, that's the holy grail.
Sure.
And you almost give me a red carpet ride to the party.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, nothing's a panacea, right? I mean, we know, the work needs to be put in and you have to be, have a great product and a great vision and execute. But I would say that, with AWS, we've got an awesome partnership with AWS that we've had for probably over a decade now. Really what we're doing with them is we've built out deep integration into Bedrock, into a lot of their core capabilities. We've got serverless functions that are very easy to call from our platform. And so I think it's a best of both worlds scenario, because imagine you're a CTO and traditionally when we first have these conversations, CTOs are like, we want to build the stack, we want to own it, we want to control it, and we think that that's our IP. But what we're trying to say is, look, you really need an ecosystem of products and capabilities to bring together to really deliver those outcomes for your clients in the quickest and most efficient way. And so Launchpad's a piece of the puzzle. We pull together many, many AWS services in an easy to consume way that you can get to market faster. But then we also have a jumping off point that makes it very easy with native connections and easy callable services that you can tap into any of the other AWS services and really build something that is a best of breed solution.
Then I could actually leverage this in my AWS marketplace.
Oh, absolutely.
Pre-committed spend, like everything that I'm.
Makes procurement more efficient.
That was my next question. I don't even have to know you.
Yeah. So I mean, we've got providers building on Launchpad that are small companies. Takes them 12 to 18 months to get on board as a vendor with these large enterprises. Now we're working with them to get them onto AWS Marketplace, where that whole procurement process.
I don't even have to talk to procurement.
Yeah.
I'd fill out.
They already have an agreement.
Yeah.
They can transact. They've already got to commit with AWS, so it gets smoother.
Sign and drive.
Yeah. That's the dream that we're trying to get to. Yeah, absolutely.
What can't you do? So I'm a founder. No, this is important.
It's not magic.
I should run from you if I'm looking to build e-commerce sites.
It's not great for B2C where you've got highly custom UI and such. Where it's truly B2B SaaS, where it's operational. That's where we shine.
Okay.
Right. And the thing that I think people sometimes lose sight of is they want to have a very custom front end. And the problem is that once you start to build that out, you've got to have maintenance. Yeah, you're now beholden to UI UX teams and custom UIs, and now all of a sudden
they out sick.
You're on an RFP, and they're like, "Oh, do you have accessibility? Do you have responsiveness? Do you have an iOS app?" And those things we just provide standard, right? And so, yes, you need to, you leverage our UI.
Wait. So I'm going to sell to a government or to state and local. You give me my ADA out of the box?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, that's pretty powerful.
Yeah, and not a lot of startups are thinking about these things, which are required.
Right. Yeah. SOC 2 compliance? Wow.
Yep.
So it does get better. There's heavy lifting still involved.
The entrepreneurial journey is never easy.
No?
Right. Being a CEO, a CTO, it's never easy, right? I mean, we're just trying to make it easier as much as we can. But again, it's all about being strategic with your resources.
That word I want to dig into, because you said something that we haven't really spent time. What does the new CTO look like tomorrow when I don't have to worry about what CTOs did?
Yeah.
Do we get to sculpt one, right? I mean, if you start thinking about that, I don't need you to be deep in the stack, and I may even have 3 or 4 engineers, and that's all I need that are deep enough to go, what do I need?
Yeah. I think it's an expert in understanding the ecosystem of technologies and when to use them. Right. And those are the ones that we have the best collaboration with, right? Because they're open-minded. They're not, so focused on I have to own and control the whole stack.
Right.
But they're also like, okay, I want to understand vendor lock-in. I want to understand how my company is going to be valued.
That's the next question.
And it's not, it's understanding that the valuation of their company is not going to be, they're not a deep tech company, right? That you asked where we're not good. We're not selling to deep tech companies. We're solving problems for B2B SaaS, process-oriented stuff where the client's more worried about the outcome. They're not worried about the tech.
Well, if you think about most industries, don't need to worry about the tech.
Yeah.
Right? Like I don't worry where my corn came. I use USDA beef.
Right.
I don't know what state it came from.
Sure. Right. Yeah, you're just getting what you want.
Right.
And it's good.
And it comes a great steak.
Yeah. So again, back to the ecosystem of partners. I mean, it's, as I tell people, you're not going to build your own LLM, right? You're not going to go build, you're not going to host your own servers anymore like we did back in the day, right? And so it's the same thing, which is understanding what AWS services you leverage, a platform like Launchpad. There are other low-code tools out there, like we talked about somebody today about Bubble.io, and Bubble.io is great for quick, down and dirty apps. Lovable's fantastic for prototyping stuff and building the weight loss app.
The weight loss app.
If you want to build an app for yourself, to manage your own journaling process, perfect, great. But if you want to build an enterprise-grade solution, it's no longer what it used to be in our days. Back with Salesforce.
The table stakes are that came up today. Even for you to say AI. CISO's involved.
Right.
Think about that.
Oh, yeah.
And how many of these startups even know what a CISO stands for?
Yeah, and with AI, you need to now be able to explain what the decision was.
Right.
And so we build that in as well. And so you've got that predictability, so you start to understand and control and have predictable outcomes. That's the whole thing.
So you're like an insurance plan meets a buffet.
Okay, tell me more.
I'm not going to fail. You're giving me all the things that I need to succeed. I still have to comply and do them.
Sure.
And the buffet is that I get everything from you and AWS. What am I missing?
Sure. I mean, at the end of the day, there's risk in business always.
Of course.
Right? And so I think that it's really we're reducing your risk on the basics and the stuff.
No false starts is probably a better thing.
Yeah. And you've also got all of this rich workflow capability and the rules engine and a lot of the stuff that we've proven over the last 40 years with these large enterprises and now have applied to Launchpad. So now you've eliminated the risk at that layer. Now your risk is more about, do I make sure that I'm solving the right problems? Am I solving it well? Am I truly delivering a good outcome? Do I have a good commercial model? And so you're focused on the right things that are more strategic issues versus the hierarchy of needs. You're not worried about food and water anymore. You're kind of focused on the top of the pyramid in terms of where the real value is.
Which is pretty exciting because if you think about it, I'm gonna imagine that yesterday, half of the money I raised went to things I don't even need tomorrow.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
Pretty thrilling and exciting. And who should run from you?
Run from us? I mean, that's a little bit extreme.
I'm sure that if you're building something to go to outer space, don't give us a call.
Yeah, I mean, I would, again, I'd say deep tech companies, like I get on this call, I'm like, hey, look, we're probably not a good fit, right?
Well, the thing is, deep tech's only 10% of the tech.
Exactly.
B2B SaaS is 90%.
Yeah.
B2C is the other 10. I mean, it might have a bigger, but in terms of usage.
Yeah, totally. And I would say that we're ideal for, it's like those operational use cases. It's companies that are trying to sell to tens, hundreds, or thousands of companies in a scalable way, and really have a valuable product that delivers an outcome.
You said something about this blueprint engine.
Yeah.
It sounded too good to be true. Like, I don't know how to use CAD.
So it's not that kind of blueprint.
I got excited for a minute.
Yeah. So Pega Gen AI Blueprint, works on Pega Infinity, but it also works on Launchpad. And what's awesome about it is, in business process, you have case management, you have process flows, you've got personas, and so it's a little bit different thinking than traditional kind of CRM systems or CRUD databases that you think about, right? And so the great thing is, you just go into Blueprint, you describe your product that you want to build.
English language, Spanish,
common language. I want to build a client onboarding application for this type of organization in this vertical. And
do you tell it what companies you want to be like?
You could, but also you could take screenshots
of things you like,
process flow diagrams. You could point to a website and upload those documents based on our thousands of workflows that we've done for companies over the years and our IP and leveraging LLMs. We basically, within a matter of seconds and minutes, design an app. And it's a draft blueprint that you would have spent hours and days and weeks of whiteboarding, design sessions,
talking to people, testing.
And so we'll frame that up, build it, and now you've got a way to preview what your app would look. So it starts to come to life very quickly. And then actually within your blueprint, you can start to modify and be like, I don't really need that. I'm going to modify this and tweak it. And you can shape it. And then you just import that into Launchpad. And now you've got essentially your data model, your process flows, you've got your UI, you've got your user personas defined. You've got all that stuff that would have taken a team months to build.
Well, just the data model alone to figure out how and connect that. When you say that, I start realizing this is deep.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So while it might not be deep tech, it's definitely deep in terms of the stack you need to fulfill.
For sure. And then now it's about, let me take that starting point. Now let me finish that, polish it up, finalize it. And then it's got a preview button. So you just hit preview. It launches a live version of your application, so you can start to just look at what the application is, how it works, play with it a little bit, see how many units it consumes, so you understand your cost model.
Wait, what does that mean? How many units?
Yeah, so we have Launchpad units are our usage model metric.
Like tokens?
Yeah, similar.
Okay.
Yep. And essentially it's based on reads and writes.
All right, so it's got a definition.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yep. And so it's actually easier because imagine you're going to go deploy to GCP or any cloud or AWS. You don't know how much your
That's what I was driving. I wanted to know that. I have no clue how much
until you really get live, right? There's estimator tools and things, but we actually give you a true picture to say, okay, you're going to build an outcome-based application. You build your process, you build your application, and then we tell you exactly how many units that process flow costs. And outcome-based pricing is one of the hot things today. Nobody wants to license thousands of users who aren't going to use an app, right? But they're willing to say, okay, it cost me 20 cents to process a mortgage or to process a claim or whatever. And you know exactly what those costs are. So as a SaaS company or an AI company, now you can price your model however you want. Platform fee, an outcome-based fee.
Transaction, whatever. Wow, that's pretty flexible.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and we give you, reporting on that, dashboards by client, and as you start to iterate and build new features, you can see how those features impact your usage.
That was my next question.
In a real-time way.
Do I get to simulate if I want to keep building? Because what I don't want to do is get started and realize that it takes more units than I assumed.
Sure.
But that does no one no good for you to
No.
right? So I need you to propagate me
Right.
and the systems.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, and we've really designed it such that you should be able to get the kinds of margins in a SaaS business that you need to, right? And so we're not charging you at a level that's, going to eat into your margins in a big way. We're really looking at this in a way to say, look, we're like a layer on top of AWS, and then your outcome pricing is going to be cents to process.
Well, this layer on top is pretty interesting considering what OpenAI recently built. And we didn't realize how important these layers are.
Yeah.
And we're starting to see you may be the most important layer, whether it's you or a low code, for what the next 10 years look like.
Sure.
We may never need a CS engineer. I mean, think about that. I mean, we will, but not to the degree that we suffered from data scientists. There's not enough people to do these roles to scale the business. That's the real issue.
Totally. Yeah, I think it opens up the opportunity for entrepreneurs and leaders to rethink how they staff their teams and how they structure their operating model, their P&L. It starts to open up the
whole new world.
Because, like Jason Lemkin was saying, he's like, look, SaaS was getting boring because like the last 10 years, the template was like locked down. You knew that you had to spend X% on your P&L on this.
It was a playbook.
Yeah, it was a playbook, right? And I think we unlock a new playbook. Right, and it's to be determined what that is. But I think
don't know yet.
It's a new formula that is not the same cost model that you had.
Right. We heard that. I sat in a Brett Queener session yesterday, and he really hammered in. He was a former exec, for those of you listening, for Salesforce, that really helped us scale.
Right.
And he's now at Bonfire, a VC that just closed a $250 million fund, and he's talking about working with entrepreneurs today. We used to have 12 quarterly closes because we had to.
Right.
You have 12 releases. You might have 24 releases. You can't train your people. Like, the speed and velocity is what's going to kill people.
Yeah.
Because I can't keep up. I can't train. I can't do that. And with AI, I'm just going to imagine it only gets worse.
And the expectation of the client is different too. Because I was just talking to a CEO last week, and he said that he basically bought a customer service platform for his company. And the key reason why he made the choice with the one that he picked was velocity of their product roadmap. Because he was like, these guys get it, and they're delivering and adding new features and capabilities in a modern and fast way. And so I'm going to basically, bet my customer service experience on this company because I trust that they're going to deliver that velocity. And so that's our hope, is that for companies that build on Launchpad, they get the same. So we're doing weekly releases and updates to the platform, and the way that we've managed our version control and the publishing process is it makes it really easy for a non-technical person to basically publish new versions, push those out to client subscribers. They can do it in a way that is either a push model, or they can have an option where, for larger clients, as you would know, they don't want you pushing an update.
Right.
So the client gets a notification, and then they can basically decide to accept the update when it makes sense for them. And so we've built this stuff in, so you don't need to, as a CTO, worry about all of that tooling and processing and management that would have cost a lot to build.
This is the beauty of coming downstream versus building upstream.
Yeah, true.
Don't have to worry about what you need because they've already dictated the industry needs.
Yeah.
I just have to figure, how do I serve? And
you're enterprise ready.
I'm enterprise
ready.
ready.
Because in the old days, you started at the bottom,
start at
the
bottom.
SMBs, you went up, and then you started to hit the ceiling because you're like, I can't comply with all this stuff.
I think we're going to have enterprise ready logo.
That's a great way to think about it.
It is a great way.
And they don't think they need to be enterprise ready yet.
Because they don't know any better. Right. No, you don't. Listen, we've been founded. I was the first time when I was 27. Like, I know what it was like.
Yeah.
Clueless.
until you spend days.
I lost my $1 million as my first, and realized, oh my God, this can't be true.
Yeah.
So first of all, I love that the AWS marketplace and all of these things. Am I captive to you with AWS? What if I'm a GCP shop or an Azure shop? How does that work?
Great question. So we have decided to go all in with AWS, just because there are thousands of ISV, tens of thousands, maybe billions.
Can we say Netflix? Can we say Capital One? Can we say words people know and use?
Right? So that's where we're starting.
The best decision.
As Pega, we have a big relationship with with GCP, and on our enterprise side, we have Cloud Choice, because that's what you need in the large scale enterprise area. But to answer your question, we've got organizations building a Launchpad, and they'll integrate with AWS services, but it's up to them. It's very easy for them to call out to other services, OpenAI, to GCP, other Snowflake. And so, again, it's that ecosystem, and they have the flexibility to choose how they do that. And it's not just a technology decision. A lot of it's commercial as well, and go to market, because they're kind of having to pick and say, okay, For like we have that announcement from AWS recently where they said, if you're building on Marketplace, we're going to badge you if you're 100% on AWS.
Right.
And there are advantages.
Well, for sure there
And so that's a decision strategically an ISV needs to make.
100%.
Right?
How much love do I want?
Yeah. Do I need help with this? Do I really need to get the, kind of the all-in benefits of going in with AWS? Or is it better for me to, tie into a bunch of different services because of the markets I'm going after?
Did they do that because of the Wiz factor?
What do you mean?
Wiz was the first polyglot ISV that loved them all significantly, and they just got bought for like $1 billion. And I'm wondering if all of a sudden someone woke up and said, hey, I want some captors. And it's just a thought as you go through that.
And I think we've been around long enough that the pendulum kind of swings with these things too.
Well, I was just going to say, the best part I think for Launchpad, from what I'm hearing, is I know that in today's world, about 60% of new ISVs using AI are building on GCP because of what they're giving away for you to get it.
Sure.
That tells me that 90% of the ISVs that need AI are probably in the AWS ecosystem.
True. Yeah, which is really the target audience.
We parallel now.
Who gets the most benefit.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting. We should double click into that.
Yeah, definitely. You were asking about some examples.
Yes,
right?
for sure.
And so,
well, seeing's believing.
Yeah, we've got tons of stories that are emerging, and it's great to see these things. It's always fun to see these things come alive, right? And so one company we're working with, they had 2 tech stacks, 2 different platforms, multiple products, and they basically came across us on LinkedIn and heard the story. They heard about Launchpad. The CEO and I connected. Again, we dove into kind of his strategy, where he's struggling, where he's trying to go. The net of it is that basically he said, look, I've got like 3 tech stacks. In the next 18 months, I want to get to 1. To really streamline my business, have a unified product, because we bought a company. We've got them, on Azure. We've got some stuff built on Salesforce, and we essentially want to move all that stuff over. And so, one of the things that they were doing is they were actually in the midst of a replatform of a bunch of their stuff to go build full stack engineering on Azure, and they had a whole team. It was taking forever. He was beholden to tech staff that weren't moving fast enough. And essentially, all of a sudden, we got in with Launchpad and we were like, hey, look, we could be a better alternative. We've started building, we're a couple months in, and it's a very big product. And now they're at a place where, they're like, wow, now we see the light at the end of the tunnel.
How long did that take?
I'd say from when they started.
Well, for them to see the light. Because I think, to your point, as a technologist, you have an aha moment. You don't think it's that good until you experience it.
Yeah.
Like, this worked.
Yeah. So I would say that, very quickly he saw the opportunity, but validated it about 60 days into, our engagement and helping them replatform. And now, I just talked to him actually this morning, and he's like, look, we were thinking to take 75% of our stuff and move it over. We're now thinking of moving 100% over.
Wow.
Because just the speed and velocity that we can now develop at, and the flexibility it opens up in terms of our ability to, add new capabilities.
Innovate.
Yeah, because he's bringing on now some very strategic partners for distribution agreements. They've got very specific requirements that they want to build out, and we can help him accelerate that stuff very quickly. So now he can actually activate those strategic relationships much faster than he could have done before.
Well, you're onto something here, because I was reading an article and I didn't get to finish it, so we won't go deep. But the fact that Stripe is talking about low-code, no-code platforms blew my mind.
Right.
It tells me they want to democratize builders.
Yeah.
Like, if everybody can be a creator because of Canva, why can't everybody be a builder because of Launchpad?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I see the same. And like Kajabi's in the same space, in like kind of the education space. They call it the creator economy.
That's exactly right.
And I think there is an opportunity within, really SaaS. And I think that, these long tail apps become possible that
finally
enterprise grade long tail apps, right? It's like, I never thought it was possible.
You could never get there because you couldn't afford it, you couldn't get the people, you couldn't do everything.
Yeah.
It almost seems like technology, and I heard this yesterday morning, it's getting to the point where it's going to be LCD, lowest common denominator, so that everybody can consume it. And if I think about what Launchpad is, if we were to wrap the world, it all starts with a workflow. I gotta wake up, I gotta have breakfast. Like I'm really serious.
Yeah.
So when I think about how so I go back to,
especially business, everything's a process.
Everything's a process. Yeah. So as I think through those, are there certain industries that we want to help first because we know they're struggling, like mining? And I don't know, healthcare in America feels like the one that needs the most help. I mean, CEOs are getting killed because they can't process claims.
Right.
Or they're getting denied.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think that It's a rich environment. I mean, it is a target-rich environment. There's so many industries and use cases.
We should maybe start a publication, which is you should build this and we'll tell you how.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's what we did at the App Exchange. If you build this, I will put it somewhere. We know enough about our industries that we could figure out, I made notes we'll go over. Because if I want a pyramid for each industry, and if we have the top 5, I want to know the next 50 and the next 50 and the next 50, and that's going to allow us to tack to own categories. Because then we can say we own 82% of the insurance companies. We know who you are. We're selling top to bottom. Yep. And all of a sudden, it's about wallet share, market share of industry.
Yep.
Not by company.
Right. Absolutely. What's different about our approach is we're not a business that's going to go down market into those companies. So the great thing is that when we're talking to these entrepreneurs that are saying that they want to build these use cases, they don't have the fear that all of a sudden we're going to come down market and eat their lunch.
They just have a fear you'll enable one of their competitors to, but that's business.
Maybe. I mean, we had a software company in a few weeks back, a $250 million software company. We took them through the blueprint exercise to show them how we could deliver this for them. And the CEO goes, our competitors could do this. And we were like, well, that wasn't the intention, but yes, we're here to help you go build. And it underscores that note that it's that democratization is happening for everybody. And so again, it's about what's the unique value proposition that you've got? What's your commercial model? How do you sell? How do you build relationships? So it really then hones in on those elements of business that are no longer just about building. Right? Because think about the billions of dollars it costs to process a simple request on ChatGPT. To make that happen, right? It's the power, it's the infrastructure, it's the technology, it's all that stuff. So now all of a sudden, people have the power of that on ChatGPT, but also they've got the power of it with something like Launchpad that's like, look, you don't have to go spend millions of dollars for all of this stuff.
And you don't have to worry about the hallucinations.
Yeah.
Because it's been proven at the top that it can flow down into a variety of...
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, the first thing that shocked me, and it shouldn't have surprised me, is like every person I tripped over is a CEO and a founder for an AI startup, right? I thought I was going to see a lot, but it was like everybody. So all of a sudden, everybody's an AI entrepreneur, right? But as we dug in, you start to get a sense of what they're really doing, where they are, what they're trying to do, their struggles. Right.
Struggles were real.
Yeah,
that's probably
for sure.
I heard. The struggles I heard this week were real. When I sat and spent time with the founders, you could see in their faces they don't know where to go.
Yeah, and it's about the questions that you ask, right? I mean, you ask great questions, and I mean, you kind of go and you're like, well, are you doing single sign-on? Do you have multi-tenancy? How are you handling predictability? And they're like, oh, well, no, actually, we haven't done that yet. We're not sure how we're going to address that. We have to build that. And that's going to do something later because we're focused on our core AI technology. And so it was really reinforcing, I think, in terms of the model. And I think the opportunity was exciting. I mean, I was hoping to see more of the, kind of older, 10-year-old SaaS companies.
Who to throw the lifeboat to?
But I think that they're actually not at this event. They're actually trying to survive and just figure out their business, and they don't have time to come to conferences because they're in the struggle.
Well, I'm going to say their PE firms don't approve the marketing budgets to attend these events.
Right.
There's no ROI for them.
Is it a little bit like the problems are the same though? Get the product right so they have PMF faster.
Yeah.
Faster to scale.
I mean, that's a great point. One of the things that I think is an invisible challenge for folks is the cost of product market fit, right? I mean, everybody talks about product market fit on the go-to-market side, but the real cost is actually you build something, you spend a ton of money, and then you figure out that it's the wrong thing, and now you have to iterate and make changes, and now you're changing the tires in the car while you're driving down the highway.
We need a white paper on the cost.
Yeah, and we've had this tagline for decades, which is built for change, and we've built that into Launchpad, which is all about being very model driven and very flexible, such that you're not accumulating tech debt as you're building, and you've got an easy way to kind of evolve and structure and change your product to really meet those changing demands of clients, to really get to product market fit in a more capital efficient way.
Great. So the series we're going to run is a founder market fit. We're not looking for entrepreneurs that want to find product market fit because there's enough people that know the problems that need to be solved. They don't know who we are to help them solve them. So if we could educate that founder who had that problem, this might be an easier.
Yeah. Yeah, again, it's a new way that people aren't thinking about, and it unlocks new opportunities.
Well, there hasn't been a playbook written for the age of AI because no one's winning it yet. I mean, we wrote the one for the cloud. Before that, we wrote client server.
Yeah, we're all still learning.
We are still.
Anything else that surprised you?
I was surprised at the quality of the conversations. I was surprised at the amount of people that want to come to America, whether you were from Paris or India.
A lot of international folks.
A lot of international folks looking to use this as an entry point. I was a little surprised. I didn't expect that many. Some had some customers here, some were looking for this as an exploratory. Some people come here for a month and use SaaStr as the basis to do work around, so that was pretty telling.
I think the AI era has been talked about for a few years, but it's sort of like, okay, the deck has been reshuffled now, though.
Yeah.
Now the cards are being
Yeah,
dealt.
and who shuffled it? AI.
Yeah.
But or the hyperscalers or the leading AI companies. But
Yeah, I was surprised. I was surprised at some of the executives I saw at the event. Some of my VC friends said, "Oh, it's not worth attending." They actually said, "Disaster, don't spend your time." And I think that. But I saw tier one VCs walking the floor because they know that there's something out there, and I think we all know that, and that we don't want to miss them. I felt people went to SaaStr to learn about a survival guide, and we heard that in a lot of the message. I don't know that they left with now what.
Yeah, and I think a lot of them are looking for a silver bullet, too,
Yeah.
and there isn't one.
There isn't one.
No.
You got to chop the wood.
Yeah.
You got to chop the wood.
Yeah, yeah. And, I mean, some of the folks that we chatted with, we met an entrepreneur yesterday morning, and I ran into him again today, and he's got deep expertise in a particular area. He's got a great solution. He's got a prototype, and, he was excited about Launchpad. In the 24 hours, he talked to some VCs, and then he came back to me. He was like, everybody wants me to already have customers, a running product, delivering value, proving this stuff. And I just, he's like, I can't see my way to that step, right? And Launchpad might be that thing that helps me get there, right? And so it almost was like hope, which was interesting. And I hadn't thought about that, but I think it's also, like nothing's a silver bullet, but at the end of the day, it's about, how do you find this stuff? And I think my struggle as a go-to-market leader, because we're a new product, just getting the awareness out there. And the way I think about the awareness is it's about how do I help more companies? Because I think we've got a great thing out there. Yes, it's not perfect for every single scenario, but I think that there's thousands of companies that could get a lot of benefit from it. And so that's why we're working together is really, how do we get the word out so that we get people to know about this as an option? And so that was one of the things that was really kind of invigorating about the event and some of the feedback we got from folks we talked to.
I'm most excited that if we really crack this low-code, no-code platform, what we can make the world become, to be honest. Having built the first one, there was nothing more thrilling than going to a country to show people to do things that they could never do before. I know you know this.
And change their lives.
And change their lives. Because
Yeah.
you went to another country and did this for hundreds of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Change their careers, their
The trajectory.
career trajectories.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's what I'm most
Create
excited
new wealth for people.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Let's go make it happen.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. So